Morning, morning, monsters. So, I'm going to take a rather deep dive on something this morning, and because of that, I just decided we would go with the comforting familiarity of Spelunky while I do it. It's more just Spelunky in the background while I talk about some difficult stuff. So, I've been up since about 1 o'clock this morning. Because I had early tickets for a 3 a.m. show of Star Wars. So this is the new Rise of the Skywalker movie. Don't worry, I'm not going to be talking any spoilers about the movie. I'm going to be talking about what I thought of it, generally speaking, and a broader thing of it's left me with a bunch of thoughts, most of which aren't drastically new. They've been ticking around in my head around the franchise, but they have, shall we say, solidified with the newest entry in the Star Wars franchise. First off the bat, I'd say if you enjoyed The Force Awakens and you liked The Force Awakens, you will go into this movie and you'll probably have an okay time. You'll probably have a decent, fun ride of it all. If, however, you're like me and really enjoyed Rogue One and really enjoyed The Last Jedi and thought that it took the series in a new direction, I think you will be quite disappointed with the new one, to be honest. Look, I'm a Star Wars fan. I fucking love Star Wars. I have cried in most Star Wars cinema first viewings that I've been to. This one included, got a teary moment from me. And the special effects and the acting is very good. I think sometimes the lines that the actors have to deliver aren't the best. But let's face it is a kids' movie. It is space wizards with swords. So, take that what you will. And I don't think you should take it too seriously. It is a fun romp. And I'm a big fan of the extended universe. In fact, I think some of the best writing that's happened in the Star Wars franchise has happened in the extended universe. And that's, I suppose, really the crux of what I wanted to talk about was... love it or hate it, you have to acknowledge that Rian Johnson's Last Jedi was a critical success, and it was a critical success because of the critics loved it because it was new, it was interesting, it was fresh. It was the first real innovation we've seen in a mainstream Star Wars movie since really the Return of the Jedi. It was, and people forget at the time, Return of the Jedi got very good critical reception, but was hated by the fans. It got a lot of negative reactions. Though unlike Return of the Jedi, which had a single creative visionary behind it who could then do the third film in a more comforting but complementary way, it over time cemented Return of the Jedi's impact. Whereas the new one, as I say, I came out of it, and again, we're going to be spoiler free in this discussion, but I came out of it feeling robbed of the innovation that had taken place in The Last Jedi. And that was sad. But it was, what was more sad was the fact of it doesn't feel like the death of a franchise, because a franchise will be milked as long as a franchise will be milked, but it feels like confirmation that the mouse has its hands firmly up this puppet, and the catering to the fan base that is willing to spend a lot of money on ancillary products the cynical viewpoint of where we calculate lifetime value of a customer, LTV as it's known in the trade, and the lifetime value of a lifetime Star Wars fan in their 30s or 40s is probably just significantly higher and much more spending income than a child, and that's what it comes down to. So it's sad. It's really, really sad to me that I don't feel like kids are getting their own Star Wars, because love them or hate them, the prequels were very much not for old fans. They were for new fans, and now that those new fans are of an age, I think the prequels have a lot of adult fans, because you know, there were a lot of kids who, when they saw the prequels, didn't know that a whole bunch of stuff was kind of silly, and didn't know that a lot of the movies got panned in many ways, and they came away with a lot of love for them. And so now the prequels have this fan base that feel like the prequels are their Star Wars, and I don't think that's going to be true of kids today and the current trilogy. I think the current trilogy is more for old fans than it is for new fans, and that's somewhat sad, especially after, as I say, Rian Johnson did such a bold take on the franchise, and to see so much of his work not only just retconned but disrespected creatively. Like, even if they wanted to take it in a different direction, they didn't have to. They really stamped up and down on it to, like, oh no, don't worry, we're retconning this, and they retconned a few other things, and there was just little things like, and again, I'm being very careful to keep this discussion spoiler free, but there's little things like the some of the characters could have been treated very differently, and they're not treated differently because of interest groups, because of conservative interest groups, because of China, because of other things. You know, like, someone made a very good point on online about how Star Wars and rebellion, it's about rebellion against the Empire, and when the original Star Wars trilogy was written and came out, it was at a time of the Vietnam War and the Viet Cong, and, you know, in an interview, Lucas has stated that he was thinking about the Viet Cong and about the Vietnam War when he was writing about the rebels, you know, and he was thinking also about the British Empire, but he was thinking about, you know, small plucky rebels against a large empire and asymmetric warfare, right? Whereas the current feel of the show takes you more into sort of nationalistic and a more there's two ways you can approach, say, for example, the Force. One way you could approach the Force is how it was originally approached, which is sort of a mystic. Because this is the other thing people always forget about the Force, is in the first movie, the Force was not provable. There was no physical manifestation of the Force as an entity. It was only in Return of the Jedi that some level of telekinesis was shown, and Force lightning was only in the third film. So that was that poor damsel. There was literally no chance of saving her. So there has been an escalation of Force powers throughout the series. It's one of those things that's I honestly think somewhat problematic with it, because when you look at the Force from its original roots, it's about believing in yourself. It's about a faith in yourself, but it is not a faith. It is not a church, if you will. Now, the prequels cemented it more in a formalized religion sense. But even in the prequels, there is an acknowledgement of the Jedi Council being flawed, and the old masters not necessarily them being afraid of the new, of balance in the Force, and their hubris is one of the reasons why Anakin turns to the dark side, because of their fuddy-duddiness and the sort of formalized structure of the church. And so in that way, the prequels actually reaffirm the independent nature of the Force. Whereas, and in The Last Jedi, a similar thing happens where you see multiple Force-sensitive people throughout the rebellion. They're not all Jedis, but they all believe in the Jedi power and they fight for it, and it's a rebellion of the people. There's multiple voices in it. Whereas the rebellion in The Force Awakens and the rebellion in this new entry it's given lip service in a way that I think only a corporate interest gives lip service to the concepts of diversity and the concepts of inclusion. It's like, oh no, we totally value independence, we totally value your ability to, be one with the Force, and may the Force be with you, and all that stuff. Or we totally value our gay employees or our minority employees or whatever. But when it comes to the bottom line is the bottom line. And when it comes to the rebellion, hey, if you're not part of the Admiralty / General, or you're not part of like a royal bloodline, well, fuck you, go die on the front lines. You are fodder. Like, it doesn't matter what goes on with you, because oh yeah, we're gonna negate all of the hard work you're doing, because let's just say that one of our main characters has arrived and is going to do stuff that totally negates anything that you could possibly do. And this is not a collective effort. This is you are background noise to our stars, is really what it comes across as. And as I say, I want to reaffirm, it's a very well executed film. I have critiques about the writing and the directorial choices, but they are critiques, and I think it's worthy to have criticism and critique this stuff. But there should be no anger, there should be no hate. Like, no one should be sending any kind of hate mail or any of that absolute nonsense. And I congratulate the cast and crew and the actors and the VFX houses. I mean, it's a visually stunning movie that you really cannot understate how much of a technical achievement it is. But from a directorial voice, from a writing voice, from a originality point of view, just strongly disappointed with the choices. And some of those choices will, as I say, be from the writing team, and some of them will be some of them will be directorial, but I think a lot of them will also come down from the mouse on high. Will come down from corporate. Not all of them. I think there's I think people are too fast to ascribe things to corporate malfeasance. That is more likely just middle management wanting to, or an independent director wanting to make a successful film. But I think I'm going to have to return to this topic, and I'm going to have to talk about it further when I think it's appropriate to have a more spoiler-based discussion on it, which will probably be in a week or two. I need to give it some time. Probably also just give it some time because I know that like when this YouTube video goes up, you've probably already written an angry comment and left by now, to be honest. But I acknowledge that there is a chance the bad side of the internet can find this opinion and get upset by it. But I think it's an important discussion, and I think it's something worth talking about. And I really wanted to talk about it this morning because, as I say, I was very excited. I got my 3 a.m. showing. I got up at 1 a.m. I went, I watched it. I enjoyed a lot of it, but honestly, I came away mostly feeling empty. And that's a sad thing because in terms of audience member, I'm a very easy to please. I'm a long-term Star Wars fan. I consume a lot of the extended media and a lot of the extended universe, but I think there are better stories being told on Star Wars tabletop tables in people's living rooms at the moment, and there's better stories being told in comics and extended media than are being told in the main franchise. And I think that's just the state of affairs for Star Wars, and I don't think it'll change anytime soon. And that is where I'll conclude my opinion and discussion on Rise of the Skywalker. If you go see it, we're going to be keeping this chat sort of free from spoilers and stuff for the next week or so. Just general, spoiler respect the bollocks rules. But yeah, that's where we're going to end the thing. And as I say, you all can always join us on Twitch live for these recordings. Ta-ta.